Okay. Hey, I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be talking about post-colonialism in the Wind Up Bird Chronicle. Post-colonialism is defined as issues such as economy, politics, religion, and culture, and how they work in relation to Western colonies.
Now, in the Wind Up Bird Chronicles, we have the main character, Toru Okada, in which unusual things happen to him in his life. For example, his cat goes missing, and so does his wife.
The three concepts of post-colonialism that we'll be discussing in this video are control and power, racism, and Western influence. So now we're gonna go look at three scenes that show these three concepts in the Wind Up Bird Chronicle.
Yay!
He was a short man dressed in a suit. It was hard to guess his height with him seated, but he couldn't have been 5 feet tall. Somewhere between 45 and 50 years old, he looked like a chubby little frog with a bald head, a definite A in Mei Kasahara's classification system. He did have a few clumps of hair clinging to his scalp over his ears, but their oddly shaped black presence made the bare area stand out all the more. He had a large nose, which may have been somewhat blocked, judging from the way it expanded and contracted like a bellows with each noisy breath he took. Atop that nose sat a pair of thick-looking wire-rimmed glasses. He had a way of pronouncing certain words so that his upper lip would curl, revealing a mouthful of crooked, tobacco-stained teeth. He was, without a question, one of the ugliest human beings I had ever encountered. And not just physically ugly, there was a certain clammy weirdness about him that I could not put into words. The sort of feeling you get when your hand brushes against some big, strange bug in the darkness. He looked less like an actual human being than like something from a long-forgotten nightmare.
In this scene, we see that Toru characterizes Yushi as being a stereotypical Asian. Now, stereotypes are culturally influenced. So for an American stereotype of an Asian to be in Japan, it just shows how much Western influence has on that country. But Yushi is a stereotype because Asians have a stereotype of being short. And in this case, Yushi is barely hitting 5 feet. During World War II, there was a lot of anti-Semitism towards the Japanese. So the fact that Murakami places this context inside the novel just shows how much of the West has an influence on Japan.
The more I heard, the angrier I became, until my anger was almost choking me. He was pretending to talk to the world at large, but in fact he was talking to me alone. And he must have had some kind of twisted, distortive motive for doing so. But nobody else realized that, which is precisely why Noboru Wataya was able to exploit the gigantic system of television in order to send me secret messages. In my pockets, I clenched my hands into fists, but there was no way I could vent my anger. And my inability to share this anger with anybody in the lobby aroused in me a profound sense of isolation.
In this passage, the word exploiting means to use for personal gain. In this case, Noboru Wataya is using the broadcasting systems to send personal messages to Toru. Because of this, Toru feels oppressed because he has no power or control to say anything back to Noboru Wataya. So this relates back to post-colonialism because in countries that have been taken over, the citizens feel oppressed and they feel like they have no control over what's happening in their country.
I decided to make spaghetti for lunch again. Not that I was the least bit hungry, but I couldn't just go on sitting on the sofa waiting for the phone to ring. I had to move my body to begin working towards some goal. I put water in a pot, turned on the gas, and until it boiled, I would make tomato sauce while listening to an FM broadcast. The radio was playing an unaccompanied violin sonata by Bach. The performance itself was excellent, but there was something annoying about it. In this scene, we see Toru cooking spaghetti while listening to Bach on the radio and overhearing an FM broadcast. This may seem normal due to these symbols reoccurring multiple times in the novel. However, it just shows the Westerner influence in Toru's life. I mean, come on. what Japanese person makes spaghetti? Am I right? But the FM broadcast, it was originally made in the United States in the 1980s. And in the novel, the year is 1984. So it just shows how the Western influence is on Japan. But the most important thing to look at is the fact that Toru said he's making spaghetti again, and that somehow the music is annoying. Again, just shows a repetition, but it also emphasizes the fact how Western influence is reoccurring in Japan's life, and it's taking it over. And the annoyance is just Toru's feelings towards the West, and how even though he likes the idea of the West being there, it's too overwhelming and it's taking over what Japan used to be.
Okay, so why is it important to look at the Wind Up Bird Chronicle in a post-colonialist lens? It's important because it aids in cultural literacy, and it helps us to better understand how Western cultures can have such a heavy influence on other cultures.
Also, looking at it through in the Eastern countries, Japan had control over Manchuria. That control is seen in the Noburu and Toru scene, and Toru symbolizes the struggle between having power and being under power. So looking at it through any other lens, values such as power and culture would not be as evident in the text.
With this knowledge, we can better understand the culture of Japan itself, and that aids in cultural literacy.